Today we're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, chapter 14, text number 38. Yat Bahu Dhanabhyudya Yanu Jivinyo Yadu Pravira Hi Akutobaya Muhu Adi Kramantri Angirbir Ahritam Balad Sabam Sudharman Sura Satamochitam Yadbahudanda Vyadayanu Jivno Yadu Pravira Yakutobaya Muhu Adikramantya Kribir Ahritam Balad Sapam Sudharmam Surasatamochitam Bahudanda Vyudayanu Jivino Yadu Pravira Yakutobaya Muhu Adikraman Tyam Krihirbir Artam Balat Sabam Sudharmam Surasatamochitam. Anybody else like to try? Yeah. Yadu Pravira Yakutobaya Muhu Adigamananyan Vibhyam Balad Sabam Sudhamam Surasatamochitam
Yadbahudam Vyadayanu Jivno
Yadbahudanda Vyadayanu Jivno
Yadu Pravirya Kutobaya Muhu
Yadu Pravira Yakutobaya Muhu
Adikramantya Shaku Tripi Akritam Balad Sabham Sudharmam
Surasatamochitam. Lady? Bahudanda Vyudayanu Jivino Yadu Pravira Yakutobaya Muhu Adikramantrayam Gribam Balad Sabam Sudharmam Surasatamochitam. Word for word. Yat whose Bahudanda arms Abhyudaya influenced by Anujivana always living Yadu the members of the Yadu Dynasty Pravira great heroes Hukutobaya fearless in every respect Muhu constantly Adikramanti traversing Angribi by foot Ahritam brought about Balad by force Sabam assembly house Sudharma Satama the best among the demigods Uchitam deserving translation Maharaj Yudhisthira continuing his questions and reflections to Arjuna due to seeing so many inauspicious omens that were present before him. Translation. The great heroes of the Yadu Dynasty, being protected by the arms of Lord Sri Krishna, always remained fearless in every respect. And therefore, their feet trample over the Sudharma assembly house, which the best demigods deserved, but which was taken away from them. Translation again, I'll say you please repeat. The great heroes of the Yadu Dynasty, being protected by the arms of Lord Sri Krishna, always remain fearless in every respect. And therefore, their feet trample over the Sudharma assembly house, which the best demigods deserved, but which was taken away from them. Purport by Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Those who are directly servitors of the Lord are protected by the Lord from all fearfulness. And they also enjoy the best of things, even if they are forcibly accumulated. The Lord is equal in behavior to all living beings, but He is partial to His pure devotees, being very affectionate toward them. The city of Dwarka was flourishing, being enriched with the best things in the material world. The state assembly house is constructed according to the dignity of the particular state. In the heavenly planets, the state assembly house, called Sudharma, was deserving of the dignity of the best of the demigods. Such an assembly house is never meant for any state on the globe, because a human being on earth is unable to construct it. However far a particular state may be materially advanced. But during the time of Lord Sri Krishna's presence on the earth, the members of the Yadu Dynasty forcibly brought the celestial assembly house to earth and placed it at Dwarka. They were able to use such force because they were certain of the indulgence and protection of the Supreme Lord Krishna. In other words, the Lord is provided with the best things in the universe by His pure devotees. Lord Krishna was provided with all kinds of comforts and facilities available within the universe by the members of the Yadu Dynasty. And in return, such servitors of the Lord were protected and fearless. Om Agyantavarandasya Giranjana Shlakaya Chakchudurmaditam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapidam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakaramayam Dadati Sravana. Born in the darkness of ignorance, but our spiritual master has kindly forced to open our eyes, the torchlight of knowledge. Therefore, we offer our most humble and respectful obeisances at his lotus feet. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Itinanane. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pachadane Nirvisesha Sundari Vasacharya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Siya Daita Gadadha Sivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Vancha Kalpatrimashya Sri Devaja Patitanam Deviyo Vaishna Deviyo Namo Namaha. So Maharaj Yudhisthira is remembering the incredible arrangements that were made by Krishna and the devotees in Dwarka for the service of the Lord. The Sudharma assembly house, which is mentioned here in this shloka, was originally established by Lord Indra with the help of Vishwakarma in the heavenly planets. And in the heavenly planets, this assembly hall would be available for meetings. For meetings of the administrators of the universe. They would come there and they would discuss, and they would plan, and they would manage the whole universe. And this assembly house was amazing. It's explained that the throne of King Indra, was carved from a single ruby. Imagine what kind of opulence that is, the size of that ruby. So Lord Indra, he ruled from that. And as we know from the previous shlok that were privileged to speak on just even a whole week ago, Indra enjoyed the heavenly realm so much because the heavenly realm was filled with all kinds of special creations. Of this assembly hall was one of them. Previously, we heard about how Lord Indra was very proud of the Parijata flower and the Parijata tree that Lord Krishna and his wife Satyabhama had flown into the heavenly realm on the back of Garuda, and Satyabhama had plucked one tree. And what did Indra do? He was so attached to his opulence of the heavenly planets that he declared war on Lord Krishna. You'd think that Lord Indra would have learned his lesson when he tried to fight with baby Krishna, or boy Krishna, boy Krishna, and Krishna as a child, right? Indra had tried to destroy the whole Braj, including Krishna, the cows, the cowherd, everything, with this torrential flooding. And he was humbled, he was humiliated, but he forgot. He came before Krishna, bowed down. I'm sorry. Oh, your name now. It's Govinda. All these things happen. He surrendered. He really surrendered. But you can see that he didn't really surrender. Surrendering is not an event. It is a moment-to-moment recognition of our position. So we can surrender. Sometimes we say, okay, I surrendered. Yeah? What about the next moment? No. We have to keep surrendering. Surrendering our false ego, our false identity. And Indra, he surrendered at that time when he was forced to surrender. Has anybody ever been forced to surrender? Has anybody felt that the forces of the Lord and the material nature has made one come to a point where he said, okay, Lord, I'm yours? Huh? Usually we think of surrender in a military way, that when we are overwhelmed by superior force, a country surrenders, or when we are criminals and we do something wrong and we get apprehended by the police, then we surrender, huh? Or when we're caught by our parents. I remember when I used to try to enjoy as a teenager. I would jump out of my window and go out into the middle of the night with my friends. And I was so proud that I was an independent man in the middle of the night. One night I did that. And I heard from my house my mother calling my name in her motherly voice, full of anxiety. And I'm hanging out with all my friends thinking I was a big man. When I heard my mother calling my name, Carly, Carly, come on! I realized that was nothing. I had to surrender. So sometimes we are forced by circumstances to surrender to God, surrender to Krishna, surrender to Guru. Huh? Because our wealth is taken away, or our friends abandon us, or our family. Somehow or another, we're forced to surrender to Krishna, surrender to God. This is, of course, Krishna explained in the Gita, there's 4 kinds of people surrender to Him. And mostly in this age, what is the most popular way to surrender to Krishna out of the 4? Well, there's those who are seekers of the absolute truth, those who are in need of, those who are curious, those who are those who are in need of money, and those who are distressed. Well, mostly people are coming to God because they're distressed, right? It's explained that there's no atheist in the foxhole. People start surrendering to God. Even when we were children, do you remember, I mean, of course, some of you are not that old. Some of you remember that when they were shooting the spacemen in outer space, and they were so proud. We've done this. And one time, something was happening. The ship was burning up or something. And all the scientists, they're no longer saying, we have done this. They started saying, the only thing we can do now, and this was on TV, public, national TV, we should pray. We can only pray. So, yeah, in times of difficulty, we turn to God. So anyway, Indra, he surrendered to Krishna, then he didn't surrender to Krishna. He declared war. So it's explained that when Dwarka was created by Lord Sri Krishna, right? He created it within the ocean because he wanted full protection for his devotees. And so then he called Vishwakarma, and it was this incredible city being built. Krishna remembered his visit to the heavenly planet, Indra. He remembered it. I want an assembly hall. I want it exactly like the Sudharma assembly hall on the heavenly planets. Well, Krishna thought, why should I make another one? Let me send my devotees there and bring it down. So who did he send? He sent Vayu to the heavenly realm. Vayu went and reminded Indra this time about the superiority of Krishna, and that Krishna wanted to only borrow. Krishna only wants to borrow the assembly house. And so Vayu, this huge, powerful, windy body, he brought the Sudharma house down to Dwarka, and explained that just like nowadays we have smartphones, and there are smart bombs, right? Smart bomb has an ability, you could set a bomb to go in this, what they call no collateral damage, just knock down a certain building. Smart bomb, smartphone. This was a smart building. This building was a smart building. It actually had ability that if it was a lot of people, the building would expand. And if it was a small meeting, the building would contract. It's like, just like I managed this temple for many years, we were always thinking, how can we make this temple smaller during the winter? So it doesn't feel like it's so cavernous. Talking about getting different, sliding doors and this, folding doors and move the Vyasa-san over here. So actually this building was actually such a building, was a smart building. It was able to adjust. So of course one of the smartest things of the building was that anybody who entered the building, they were protected from the 6 whips, hunger, thirst, what else? Illusion, lamentation. I don't recall them all. Anybody else can remember? Hunger, thirst, illusion, lamentation, like that. Anyway, 6 whips that are whipping everybody in this world to, things that are whipping us, right? That are forcing us. When you're whipped, you're forced to do something. When you're thirsty, it's like a whip, right? Being whipped to get something to drink. When you're hungry, hunger, thirst, sleep, all these things. So that was one of the features of it. And of course Krishna, he brought this down, so who is sitting on the throne in the Sudharma assembly house, generally? In Dwarka. Ugrasena. Krishna arranged this for his devotee. And Prabhupada says here, this is something really nice that he says, and I was thinking about this in relation to devotees like us. Those who are directly services of the Lord are protected by the Lord from all fearfulness. And they also enjoy the best of things. Just think where you were living before you lived in Krishna's temple. Just think where we lived and what we were doing before Prabhupada, Krishna's representative, had given this whole international society for Krishna consciousness. Some of us are Brijabasis, we don't leave New Vrindaban and see other things, but actually it's a whole movement out there. It's the international society for Krishna consciousness. If you go to any country, practically on the face of the planet, you're going to go and be welcomed into a beautiful temple with beautiful deities, with beautiful devotees, a beautiful prasad. What kind of life? It's amazing. We enjoy the best of things, even if forcibly accumulated. Well, this is Krishna's kindness to his devotees. He gives his devotees, himself, his opulence. So it's explained about the Sudharma house was interesting that when Krishna left, and of course this narration here, it's actually Krishna has already left the planet. Yudhishthira doesn't know this, and he's remembering and he's reflecting on. This is what a devotee does. He reflects. He asks questions. He asks questions about Krishna and his devotees to Arjuna, and then he's reflecting. This is what the life of the devotee is. Constantly trying to remember. The amazing display of the Lord. Just like this morning, I was going for darshan. Now, I probably saw it before, but today, I was thinking every day you could actually pick something special that you saw in the darshan of the Lord. Now today, I just noticed how really cool Subhadra's shoes are. Did you ever notice how cool those shoes are? Usually, regular Krishna shoes, sandal types. But Subhadra's, anyway, this is unbelievable. We have things to meditate on, huh? So, this is Krishna. Oh, so it says here that the demigods. The demigods were residing with Indra, and they were enjoying this privilege of going to the Sudharma house. It says here that the Yadu Dynasty, because they were connected to Krishna as family and as devotees, they were able to. This is the word Prabhupada uses here. Their feet were trampling over the Sudharma house. Huh? Because they were protected by the arms of Lord Shri Krishna. So anytime we're under the protection of Krishna, that we're given incredible facility. Huh? We're given incredible facility to serve Him. That's what it is. So, Prabhupada goes on in the purport here, which we didn't read. It was 2 paragraphs. I read one. A forgetful, conditioned soul is fearful, but a liberated soul is never fearful. Just as a small child, completely dependent on the mercy of his father, is never fearful of anyone. Fearfulness is a sort of illusion for the living being when he is in slumber and forgetting his eternal relation with the Lord. Since a living being is never to die by his constitution, as stated in Bhagavad Gita, then what is the cause of fearfulness? A person may be fearful of a tiger in a dream, but another man who is awake by his side sees no tiger there. The tiger is a myth for both of them, namely the person dreaming and the person awake. Because actually there is no tiger. But the man forgetful of his awakened life is fearful, whereas the man who has not forgotten his position is not at all fearful. Thus, the members of the Yadu Dynasty were fully awake in their service to the Lord. Therefore, there was no tiger for them to be afraid of at any time. And even if there were a real tiger, the Lord was there to protect them. What a nice analogy, huh? Understanding how to be fearless. Prabhupada saying, so that sometimes the tiger is a personification of death, right? So Prabhupada uses that tiger in a dream. Person who sees the tiger in a dream, very scared. But the person next to him doesn't see the tiger, is not scared, right? So similarly,
compassion really wakes him up.
Yes, compassion makes him up. If he knows what's going on, usually knows what's going on in somebody's dream. So the idea is that we are the tiger of death is actually, it's a dream. There is no death for the conditioned soul, but we are constantly in fear of death. That's because we are in a sleeping condition. We're in a sleeping condition. We're thinking of death. The tiger of death is coming to get us. But actually there is no death for the soul. There's neither birth nor death, nor having once been as they ever cease to be. So how to live a life? How to live a life where we can be fearless? That's the question. How to live a life that we can be fearless of death? There's only a life of devotional service. We're engaged in our eternal activity of the soul. Then there's no fear. And it's interesting, Prabhupada said here, even if there were a real tiger, the Lord was there to protect them. So even if there is death for a devotee, or it looks like it's coming in the form of danger, padam yabipadam natesham, in this world, material world, there's danger at every step. We know death simply relates to the end of this material body. It's no longer capable of sustaining the presence of the soul. Soul moves on. So even if that's there, still, the devotee's confident. Therefore, we learn to take shelter of Krishna in any circumstances, especially dangerous circumstances. And the chanting of Hare Krishna, it trains our mind to call out when we're comfortable, when we're uncomfortable, when we're in danger, when we're in safety. By learning this practice of chanting Hare Krishna, then we can take shelter. Yesterday I was taking a little nap, my wife was driving. So I was napping, and as soon as she suddenly started screaming something. She started yelling because something was happening in the back of the vehicle with one of the puppies, falling off or something. And I woke up. I woke up from a deep sleep. Hare Krishna! I was looking around, what's going on? So somehow or another, by chanting Hare Krishna, we become accustomed to calling out the name of the Lord under any circumstance. That's a great gift that Srila Prabhupada has given us, chanting Hare Krishna. We immediately wake up from our slumber. Okay, so anybody wants to... Anybody want to say anything, ask any question, comment on anything?
So what's so special about this Sudharma house? I still don't. Besides the fact that it's going small, that it can change.
What is it?
What's so special about this Sudharma house? Besides the fact that you said that it's can expand or contract.
I told you that you protect it from no one gets protected from the six whips.
So why is that? Nobody lives.
It's also made like in a very very opulent the way that it's inside. It's very wonderful and beautiful materials, jewels, marble, very opulent looking, very comfortable for meetings. I mean, it's designed just for the pleasure like that. Why?
And how does it affect the meetings? Because it's a meeting.
Oh, how does it affect the meetings?
Is it something? Yeah.
It affects the meetings because nobody has to worry about anything and they can concentrate on the business at hand. Just like if you go to when you go to Mayapur, they have a nice meeting room for the GBC, and you're sitting in there. I maybe went to one meeting or something. You're sitting there and they have these servants bring. You want some fresh squeezed orange juice? Oh, you don't like orange juice? Okay, here's coconut juice. Oh, there's sugar cane juice. You don't have to. It's like they make this nice arrangement. All the administrators of the ISKCON from all over the world are coming there, and it's very comfortable. Each seat is like maybe now they even have like something to plug in your phone next to it's probably have phone or computer. In other words, the idea is that the assembly house for such important discussions is made comfortable so the business at hand can be taken care of. That's why so these things are important for managing for managing the universe, or managing the movement, or managing things. Temple. There's usually a room that's private so that meetings can go on. So this is the same thing. We told how last week we told how Krishna would be basically hanging out in his 16,000 forms in the 16,000 palaces with 16,000 different queens, doing 16,000 different things with his family, and he would leave that assembly, leave those palaces, and he would walk all 16,000 different forms of Krishna, would be walking toward the assembly house, and when he got to the last road, they would all merge into one Krishna, and Krishna would walk into the assembly house. But Krishna wasn't always there in Dwarka, you know. Krishna sometimes would go away. But so King Ugrasena was the manager, was the leader of the, yes.
So these descriptions that you gave about how the Yadus got this Sudharma house and brought it back down to earth. And can you comment about the, since our mind might have a hard time, analyzing it and from that perspective, and it may not make, well, it may make sense to some degree, but then we don't see that in our own experience.
We don't see what?
We don't see those magical feats of like people shooting up in space without a machine and doing these mystic things, So how do we, as devotees, aspiring devotees, to understand it when we can't really deal with it with our present intelligence?
The frog in the well.
Pardon?
The frog in the well cannot imagine something outside of his experience. So a normal person can't usually think of anything. So therefore, we have to hear. Hearing is the most important thing. We hear from authorities, then we can accept. How many people are accepting scientific so-called facts about, blood vessels or atoms or, far away planets by hearing? Huh? Now, we're hearing from, it's a question of who's the authority. You're hearing from Vedic literatures. The description of the capture of the Sudharma hall by Indra, by Vayu taking it from Indra. It's there in the Vishnu Purana. So these things it's in different scriptures. So we have to accept these things from authority, just like people accept far out things from authority. They're able to magnify, say, insects, right, with microscopes and photographic images, and you get incredible, understanding, say, of some tiny little insect. Like there's a devotee who's dealing with fleas, right, in his trailer. You go online, you get a picture of what they actually look up close. It's just it's incredible, insect that's a body. So that's created by Lord Brahma, all these different bodies, and some souls residing in his body. Yeah, so that's far out there in itself. So things are far out, way beyond what we can ordinarily experience. Nowadays, it behooves one to have the right authority. Let's say now there's things on the internet people are watching, thinking they're real, right? Fake news, and then there's other things that are called, oh God, I can't remember what they're called. What they do is they take pictures, they take the face. It's like they'll take your face or something and implant it on somebody else's body in a movie, and you'll be doing something that's completely out of your character, but it'll look exactly like you. And then you take that, say, with politicians or big famous people, and they start doing that. So what is our authority? What are we accepting as reality? We have to carefully accept, the Word of God. That's what Prabhupada's mission was, to give the Srimad Bhagavatam. But we're so unnaturally unattracted to this message. We want to hear about and experience so many other things. And even those things are far out. But what can be more far out than the Srimad Bhagavatam? So how do we accept them? Submissively. That's the question. We have to accept them submissively, knowing that this is the real authority. This is the Word of God. Or we can accept other authority and experience, the mundane features of the material world and the illusions that go along with that. Does that even address your question?
What's that?
Does that address your question?
Yeah.
Anyone else?
So the Vedas and the Puranas, they're to give intelligence, and they're there to give us intelligence, you know. Vedas and the Puranas. And to remind us about Krishna. As far as like when you're talking about fake news and those kind of things, but that's why Prabhupada, like you said, that's why Prabhupada came over and gave us the scriptures, right? So
some things may be apparently far out, right? Everything's far out for the frog in the well, right? Can't conceive of anything else. So we just have to, choose our authority. We have to accept authority, right? Beyond our own sense perception, we have to accept some authority. We begin to accept authority when we're children, when we're sent to school, or even before that. Our mother's telling us this is this, our father's telling us this is that. We learn definitions of things, what are the things of the world, what are they, how they're used, how things are working, When we go to school, we find out more. But it's all based on how the material energy is working, right? You go to school, you find out everything. You could spend your whole life studying one particular aspect of material science, right? Even if you're a doctor, generally you're a doctor, you're a specialist nowadays, because it takes your whole life just to understand how the toe is working, or how the nose is working, or how the blood system is working. But to know in detail how all the systems are working, you might be able to have that kind of doctor. Generally, you don't find that person who's is expert at every field, just in medicine, for instance. But even if you understand everything about this material body, what is the result of your knowledge? What is the result of your knowledge? You have to take another birth. Whereas Krishna says, Tyaktadeham purana janma naitimam janma karma jame divyam. If one can understand, even trying to understand, right? Even if one can't understand, if one's trying to understand, Krishna benedicts them, right? Doesn't have to take birth again in this material world. Because how much can you understand of Krishna? How can you understand Krishna in full? But if you're just trying to understand, then Krishna benedicts us with a transcendental nature. We can transcend this material predicament that we're in. That's the advantage of hearing from the authorities, the spiritual authorities. So we have to train ourselves, or at least we have to put aside our preconceived notions to hear submissively. That's what Srimad Bhagavatam class, that's what Bhagavad Gita class, or that's what reading scriptures is about, to train us, or to exercise submissive oral reception. You study Bhagavatam, study Bhagavad Gita without submissiveness, you're not going to get very far in realization. Yes?
And yet, after we accept it, we can still do the you are not here on Monday. Try to understand how. Just use the philosophical speculation, because we shouldn't uncritically accept everything. I mean, that's the whole presentation by Krishna Kshetra Maharaj was on Monday. That it's about, we can still try to understand how, why, and how. We do not question that Krishna is the Supreme Personality. We do not question that this is true, but we can try to understand how is it true. And that's the use of, And of course we know that our intellect has the limits, but we don't want to promote that you need to accept things uncritically. That's indoctrination. That's what's his whole point. that we want to educate, not indoctrinate. So we...
At a certain point, one has to accept, and this is from Sri Goswami or Jiva Goswami says that at a certain point you have to accept the inconceivable Achintya Shakti nature of God, because you can't understand anything without accepting that principle. It's inconceivable how Krishna can be acting, God can be acting, especially on a spiritual level. So yeah, for the simple person, a simple person who just simply hear, accept, and appreciate. Somebody who's more scientific or intellectual, they need to wrap their mind and their intelligence around trying to understand how it could be.
And
that's good. That's encouraged.
Most of the people in the West are not going to accept things easily. So we need to actually educate. We don't want to like, oh, you need to accept it. No, we need to use our brain and explain and educate, but not like you need to accept it. Indoctrination means to teach certain sets of beliefs uncritically. What's the word? Mm-hmm. So, no, we want them to think. We want them to question, because that's not very attractive to most of the people. If you are going to tell them, you can tell devotees, but you cannot tell a newcomer, you need to accept this and just believe in it.
No, Bhagavad Gita encourages Tadvidi Paripatena Pariprasena Seva, inquire submissively. We don't encourage people to inquire challengingly. But if they do challenge, we should be enough prepared, philosophically, common sense, examples, scripture, to be able to be prepared to deal with their challenges. But generally, somebody who's challenging is not able to hear, because they're challenging, meaning generally thinking that they know. So, yeah, to create an atmosphere of submissive oral reception is the greatest gift of a self-realized soul. A self-realized soul, by dint of their connection with the Parampara, they're not speaking their own idea, they're not speaking their own philosophy. They're presenting the whole thing. And because they have, there was one remembrance of Prabhupada. And the devotee would say, the thing I most remember about my first meeting with Prabhupada was that he spoke with authority, and I was attracted to that. So if somebody has that that ability to present the truth in a very authoritative way with realization, they create an atmosphere where people who are formerly challenging become submissive. That's how Prabhupada brought Krishna consciousness. That's how a pure devotee, a Mahabhagat, is able to transform the hearts of those that he comes in contact with. That's what it says. Sadhu Sangha, Shravana Shastra Shakoi. That just a moment association with a person who actually is in that position can completely, one can perfect one's life. It's like Prabhupada's example. Prabhupada gave himself as an example. When he first met Bhaktisiddhanta, right? What happened? He was challenging. But when he actually was defeated, they said, yes, I was defeated, but I was happy. When he heard the authoritative explanations of Bhaktisiddhanta, then he accepted. So this is and it can't be done artificially. Just like Prabhupada was able to speak to scientifically, and even sometimes he would chastise. Brother, I can do this, but you cannot. You know. So like that, and Prabhupada's books are representing the same authoritative. You know, it's authoritative. It's not. What do you say? We're not. We're not expecting people to read it one time and accept everything. So we have to be prepared to know how to answer, or to know how to point out where there are answers or people with answers. That's why generally a devotee brings those who are, that they're not able to, a devotee will bring those who they're not able to convince to someone that's able to convince them, right? It's generally the standard. Srimad Bhagavatam Granth Raj ki, Srila Prabhupada ki. Oh, bring